So what's on the Oklahoma Guru's mind today? Well, there was a question by a man named James White who goes out and attacks the Latter-day Saint theology. And he was debating a good man by the name of Kwaku. And the moderator is from Apologia named Jeff Durbin, who's also been known to go out and attack the Latter-day Saint theology also. But James White asked the question, why don't people engage in conversation with those who are extreme against the church? He says back in the 80s when he got started that he'd have lines of kids and grown-ups just waiting to get their chance to take on old James White. Well, I'll tell you why. Since they couldn't figure it out, I'll let them know why. Well, back in the 70s, a man named Walter Martin, who was famous at going out and again attacking the LDS theology, and he would challenge people to open debate. Well, one of our members named Bruce A. Johnson, he took him up on that challenge. Well, eventually, Bruce did such a good job, it made Walter seem a little bit uncomfortable in front of the crowd that he was debating in front of with Bruce. So eventually, Walter Martin, he sues Johnson for the defamation of character. And then he goes after the church. So because of that lawsuit, it seemed to put the church in a position where they didn't want the kind of negative negative publicity, and so they just started to tell people, we don't debate. We don't have open debates anymore. Teaching their missionaries, don't be debating people. You have good discussions, but when it comes right down to it, debating is usually contentious, and it brings on the adversary into the conversation. So, since the 1970s, the church has taken that approach. Well, that's why maybe that we're having such a hard time retaining some of our members anymore that have grown up in the church, because they had no reason to fight against the adversary, because they lived in their homes and they were secluded from the outside forces of evil, and so they just kind of fell in line and never questioned anything that anybody said. So what is the consequence? Well, they never established any real fight when they came up against some of the things that the church in its history, even though it was known to some, it wasn't known widely to the audience. And the only way they would have been able to have this knowledge is to have open discussions with some of these people that are against the church. It's healthy when we have opposition in our lives. And so again, the answer for James White, if you cares to watch his videos, because of Walter Martin, who sued the church. And again, the church decided to say, hey, taught its members that we don't debate anymore. Well, the consequence of not bringing up the fire of testimony in your heart and your mind when you're going out and proselyting, and sometimes things do get a little contentious, but that doesn't mean you can't love the person that's you're having a good, honest debate with. Now, Debating is not to two or three or four people yelling at each other or anything like that. A debate can be an honest disagreement of philosophy and theology, and it can help people grow and learn more about the church and what it teaches. And then you don't have things coming up in the CES letter that people don't know about, and all of a sudden they just go off the deep end. Oh no, the church life. Now this CES letter talks about the money that is paid to the apostles and prophets. Well, they think that nobody else has ever said anything about that. Well, guess what? You go back to LeGrand Richards' videos, if you care to look for them, and there's at least one time that I know of, and I'm not going to be able to remember which one, but it's good. It's good to listen to a good apostle anyway. So watch them all. But he talks about the apostles and prophets in the 70s and those who are the management of the church and how they get stipends and paid for their to enable them to live and also to manage the affairs of the church. And not only that, they're apostles and prophets, and that means they are messengers of God. And when we send our missionaries out, we always give them, they pay into the missionary fund, and then we take care of, the church takes care of them for 2 years. And so the same thing with apostles, prophets, and 70. They are missionaries. They're called to that position, and then therefore they are taken care of by the church and its members. So there's nothing. So there's all kinds of stuff in the CES letter that you can talk about or come up against. But if you get that stuff when you're young, then your parents are able to explain it to you and to help you grow and to learn and to gain a testimony. Because again, within our scriptures, it says that you never that your testimony can't grow unless it's been under fire. And so if you shelter your children, you keep things away from them all the time, well then how are they ever going to grow and gain strength? So I hope this explains a few things, especially to James White and Kwaku L. and Jeff Durbin, why they don't have the kind of audience that they used to have back in the 80s. And well, read the article that's on the internet, and I'll make sure that I post it somewhere so that you guys can read it for yourself. And it's the case that Walter Martin brings up against the church and Bruce A. Johnson. And just a side note, some of my in-laws actually knew Bruce A. Johnson, the one who debated Walter Martin. That was kind of funny when I learned about that. Well, it's been good talking at you. And this is the Oklahoma Guru signing out. So share, like, subscribe, or make a comment if you think it's worthwhile. Maybe I'll read it, probably answer your questions. But you guys have a good day. It's been fun. This is Oklahoma Guru signing out.